Joe has hit the jackpot. Former President Biden has reportedly sold his memoir for a whopping $10 million advance. That pales in comparison to what the other fat Dems pulled in for their book deals. The Obamas reportedly scored $65 million jackpot in 2017, and Bill Clinton raked in 15 years ago. Meanwhile, Biden's wingman, former Chief of Staff Ron Klain, facing off with Republicans on the House Oversight Committee in the autopen investigation. A source told Fox News that Klain said he had no knowledge of Biden taking Ambien, but did admit the president's memory had gotten worse. Here's James Comer.
We're about 50-50 with the Biden inner circle answering questions, and I certainly appreciate the ones that are coming in and answering questions. So far, Ron Klain has done that.
If the president is taking naps during the day, who's the president?
Those, I can assure you, those questions are being asked.
He's not trying to avoid answering the questions. He's answering the questions carefully. He's saying the things that I kind of expected him to say. When I say credible, I think he is telling what he knows accurately.
Shannon, how does someone whose own chief of staff says he had a poor memory write a memoir?
Well, that is a great question, because remember what happened when he was being interviewed over those documents. And the Robert Hur assessment was essentially like, he can't remember stuff like when his son passed away and really big, important things. Also, we're told that there's nothing scandalous with the Biden administration. There's nothing that we don't know. There's nothing that we need to know. Well, people want scoop in a book. If we're told like there's nothing there, there's no there. I don't know what will be interesting in the book, if you can recall. But keep in mind, too, Ron Klain, while alternately telling us he was up to the task and he could be the president, he also was quoted as saying things like the president was often exhausted and out of it. He was disengaged, that he decided to go sit by the pool during the debate prep. So I'll be interested to see what else this committee gets from him. And keep in mind, Anita Dunn, Jeffrey Zients, KJP, they're all still supposed to come before this committee. And their stories are probably going to be a lot more interesting than anything we get in the President Biden memoir.
Jesse, I don't know if the chapters will be called the lowest approval rating since Jimmy Carter, Obama's lapdog, Hunter's laptop, Hunter's lap dance. I mean, what are we going to learn in this book that we don't already know? And is this a good idea for Democrats who want to move on from the Bidens?
He might not even make it to the book tour. You got to factor that in. He's got cancer. He's in his 80s. Who knows? And what kind of book tour is it? Is it a basement book tour where he goes on The View and then goes home? Or does he go on Jake Tapper's show? Does he go on Rogan? Does he go on Hannity? You want to create a little spice on the book tour. I would go on Charlemagne's show, the guy who said, "You ain't black." Those are the kind of confrontations that you want. Because if you're just going to get a regular old book tour where he says nothing because he remembers nothing, no one's going to buy it. And do Democrats want to read it? Republicans won't read it. We'll just take the excerpts on Fox and show it to you and then laugh at them. No, there's no appetite because everybody that knew something that was there already spilled their guts. So this guy's not going to come out and say anything that we don't know. And no wonder he's getting paid less. He is a failed president, Jessica, a failed president.
Jess, I do want to hear from you. What would you like to hear from the book in terms of moving the Democratic Party forward at a time when we just heard Hunter for 3 hours for free?
Yeah.
And needed to bleep most of what he said.
We did. Some well-timed F-bombs in there. And he's the one who got us in this Ambien trouble anyway.
But is it true? I think he knows his father well.
I certainly had nothing to do with the debate prep or dosing the president to recover from his overseas travel. I think that this is too soon, basically. And I understand that he's older, and so they're thinking about that. But you know, when Bill Clinton left the presidency, he had the highest approval rating of his entire term. Barack Obama, universally beloved, leaving office. This is very different. I mean, it's a Democratic Party that's in turmoil. A lot of people are looking back and saying, we should have done things differently. We should have had an open primary, or, you know. So I think if he waited a little while, he would get more. But call me old-fashioned. I still think $10 million is a lot of money.
I think that, yes, you don't need to be a pollster or have a calculator to know that. It's a lot of money, Greg, for nothing. Money for nothing, and
chicks for
his
free.
chicks seem free. Look, I don't know, big type, lots of pictures, paint by numbers, but can a ghost have a ghostwriter? Who do you think will write this book?
That's a good question. You know, I'm kind of with Jesse. I think there's only one person who's going to be surprised by the information in it. It's Joe Biden. They'll be like, whoa, this guy sounds interesting. And it's going to be really hard to figure out what category you put it in. Is it fiction, horror, comedy, fantasy, estate planning? Because that's what it's really about. Yeah, young adults. And it's true. He might end up being his own ghostwriter. You know, I think that the best way they can do this, they don't even need a ghostwriter. You just go to ChatGPT and you have one prompt, write 80,000 words on Joe Biden's life based on what's out there, because that's what they're going to do. They'll get it back in about 10 minutes. If I were the editor, I would do it the way OJ did it. You know, when OJ wrote, "If I Did It," he should write it, the title should be, "If I Wasn't." And then he could actually do a Romaniclough? No, I don't know what the word is. Whatever. On how little he actually did. Like, how he was used, how he was abused, how he was used as a Trojan horse to get elected and then cast aside like an empty husk for the radical elements. He was the worst president in history, and because he wasn't president at all. I would read that book.
I don't know who's going to read it, not me, but Shannon, just quickly, if you could ask him one question in an interview, what would it be?
What would I ask him?
Could you get your hand off my thigh?
That would be question number one.
Stop sniffing my hair, and it's beautiful hair.
You know what? I would want to probe his decision to run for a second term. I think that I have a lot of questions about who thought that was a good idea.
I'm curious to see if he goes after Kamala and Obama, both of whom he thinks did him wrong.
Or Nancy Pelosi.
I might just read that.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy
You
Pelosi,
read the
look out.
excerpts. It's better than the whole report.
Yeah.
Coming up, a Maha victory. President Trump is making Coca-Cola taste great again.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.